Welcome back to the Walk of Kings, episode 7, about chapter 6, bridge 4. That's a lot of numbers. How
It
are
is a
you
lot of numbers.
doing tonight, my brother?
I'm doing okay. Have been better. It happens. Got a flu shot a couple of days ago, and whether you think that's a good thing or not, usually does leave me feeling a little under the weather for a day or two afterwards. So I think I'm just getting over that today. But
Well, I
all
hope
good. How
that
are
you
you?
can be over the weather soon.
Thank
I'm
you.
doing well. I'm happy that, given that it's now more than a week into October that we're
hmm
finally starting to get some October weather. It was 86 degrees here yesterday.
It was about
According to my,
85, 84. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if it may have even hit the record for that day in New Hampshire.
It was,
There
yeah,
were,
it was actually pretty close, I think.
yeah, I've been coping with no air conditioner for about a month because I frankly can't afford to just keep
Mm,
the air conditioner going all year. So
yeah.
today it's been nice to just have the window open and blasting some 60-degree air throughout the apartment.
Yeah. With my tenant lease agreement, I actually
Mm-hmm.
have to take ACs out by the 1st of October.
Mm-hmm.
So I took those out, and then it was over 80 degrees yesterday. And
Yeah, fun is
I did not sleep super well last night.
No, I can imagine not. I'm sorry. Hopefully we can both get some rest
That is.
soon. Because I was there with
Yeah.
you.
There's a severe weather alert for tonight about a freeze warning, which is
Ooh.
kind of hilarious,
Yep.
being a full week into
Yep.
October. So
just a casual 40-degree difference between like one 24-hour moment and another.
seriously, what are we looking at today?
So today we're looking at Kaladin's next chapter, which is titled Bridge 4, which of course, as everybody who's rereading along with us knows, is one of
Big
the most
deal.
important entities in the series. It's the thing that gives
Yeah.
Kaladin his new identity. And we see the very beginnings of that here. So, in summary of the chapter, they finally transition from the wastelands to the war camps, and
We're gonna be here a while.
we're gonna be here quite a while. Dear goodness, we're gonna be here quite a while.
Couple
And
books at least.
yeah, 3 books, I think. Is that correct? Most of 3
Yeah,
books.
it's only really part way into Oathbringer that I think we're even like
Or
fully in Urithiru territory.
Or I
Is
can't
that
remember at
correct?
this point how many people stayed behind, if they did,
Oh yeah,
in the
there's
Urithiru.
definitely still
Okay.
a human presence at the war camps,
Yeah.
even by book 4 or
Yeah.
5.
But I
So
suppose it is primarily the first 2 books that were just kind of
yeah,
entirely there. Even still, that's,
a
the
lot.
length of many other entire book
Yeah.
series. So we get
Just
to the,
just
yes.
sorry, just a quick aside. I was at the doctor's office the other day where
Hmm.
I got my flu shot, which is a good place to get your flu shot at.
Better than
And
a back alley somewhere.
I was reading American Gods by Neil Gaiman.
Yep.
Fun book. Not a massive fan of the author after hearing about some of the really
Yeah,
cool
he's
stuff
kind
that he
of an
did.
horrifically
Um,
evil person,
yeah, not
but
not
is a
really my
good book,
favorite guy anymore.
unfortunately.
My doctor came in and he's like, "Oh man, you're working through like a brick there, huh?" And I
Hmm.
look down at American
It's a big
Gods and
book.
I'm like, "It is a big book, but this ain't nothing, buddy."
Is it like 700 pages? Am I remembering that right?
Um,
And then there's also the extended version, which is, I guess, the one that I'm thinking of. I don't remember how much longer that is
yeah,
than the regular
I've just
version.
got the standard print,
Yeah,
standard release one, which it's
trade
it's over on my
paperback.
bookcase.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head how many pages it is, but it is
it's a
certainly
big
not
book though.
even Way of Kings.
Yeah, I
Um,
I definitely remember when I was like in high school going to the library and seeing it on
mhm.
the shelf that was specifically was one of those books where it's like, wow, I'm getting into all this mythology stuff and I'm loving all this, but that book intimidates me because of how big it is.
That's a big book.
Yeah.
And here we are. But anyway, sorry, just a funny aside.
Yeah. So Kaladin is brought with the other slaves to the Shattered Plains. We get some initial description of the war camps. These descriptions are fine, I guess.
Nothing super in depth.
We are losing, I think, a little bit of that sort of poetic bent from the first few chapters of the book, specifically from like Zeth's perspective, I guess. Which is odd because he is not a terribly poetic person. I don't know if it's just that
his chapters seem to be pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
he's like how he experiences things.
His culture is very blunt, and he's a very blunt person in his culture.
Yeah.
But this is where Brando wanted to flex his early descriptions, and so we're moving away from that a bit as we're getting to Kaladin. We're getting very long, straightforward descriptions of paragraphs. I definitely prefer listening to the audiobook over reading on the page because I have a very different paragraphing style than Brandon does, and it's hard for me to see to be it's difficult for me to not just be in editor mode the entire time. Not that he paragraphs in a way that I think is like objectively wrong, but I don't know.
Your writing cadence is just a little different, yeah.
So many years of both editing for people who are publishing for a like web-based audience and also writing books that are intended for a web-based audience. It gets drilled into you pretty hard in the same way that like if you were going to be like writing marketing text that you do pretty aggressive paragraph breaks. And here it's like, wow,
3 or 4 sentence paragraphs.
I do kind of feel like you have multiple things going on in this paragraph. I'm not really sure why you but it doesn't matter. Anyway, the paragraphs the descriptions are fine. One detail that stood out to me that I didn't really realize before is the description of these eastern lands being very humid, leaving Kaladin feeling like he's always damp.
Yeah.
I mean, I always pictured the Shattered Plains as being very dry, very arid, even though there are constant storms going through and water pooling everywhere. So that's something to keep an eye out for, I suppose, going forward is descriptions of the dryness or the dampness.
Yeah, I guess I kind of I did notice the same thing, and I guess my rationale was that they were like breaking the tree line and it's going to be more damp, I guess, where the trees and more like badlands are. Once you get the actual Shattered Plains themselves, it seems to be pretty like you said, like arid desert, very
I would
bare rock
expect that, but again, like I said, there's constant rain, but there's also constant rain everywhere. There's nowhere there isn't constant rain because this is a planet with high storms. So it is kind of weird that Kaladin is making that comparison in his head, like the humidity of this part of the world, like compared to where he grew up, which was also very rainy. I don't know. Maybe I'm just missing something very basic, but it stood out to me as just odd. But then we get some description of soldiers as compared to mercenaries. Kaladin doesn't approve of the soldiers that he sees around him, which are... One second, I'm going to sneeze.
Yep.
I'm probably not going to sneeze now that I mentioned it. We, of course, know that Sadeas has, like, no discipline. As readers coming back on a reread, we know that the reason Kaladin is raising an eyebrow at the disheveled state of these soldiers is that Sadeas has no discipline for his troops. And so Kaladin's being thrown into one of the worst war camps that he could for his position. Let alone the fact that Sadeas cares nothing for human life and treats his bridge people the worst because he knows that's how he can get the most money from bridge runs.
Totally not Mistborn ska approach, by the way.
Definitely not. He is definitely
Totally
not
not.
at all just Lord Venture in another. Well, I mean, he's not really, because Lord Venture is a very evil man in different ways than Sadeas is.
Yeah, but
If
the
nothing else, you get the sense that
disregard.
Sadeas loves his wife in however much he can love anybody.
He is like Lord Venture in that when he considers somebody low enough below his station, they just don't matter anymore.
Yes.
That kind of like
Yeah.
landlord, and not in the modern sense, but in the
Yeah.
sense of like
He's a jerk nobleman.
What's an asshole?
Yeah, asshole. That's really the only word for him. But Kaladin lines up with the rest of the slaves. A bright lady comes and she's like, "Oh, these slaves look like garbage. Oh, actually, this one, he looks like a main character."
The
And
stand
then
user could be any one of us.
yes, she's like, "Take your shirt off, boy." And he's like, "Okay." And we're like, "Oh, Kaladin's still so muscled, even though he hasn't done anything for like 8 months." It's like, okay. And then,
Quick note: it is to be noted, she tells him to strip, and his first instinct is to spit on her. So, like,
yes, well, I mean,
you
she has a
know.
light eyes. He just does that to all of them.
That's fair.
And so, but then he's like, my shash brain is because I was a murderer because I was in a bar fight and I killed a man, but I can still fight. And he's thinking to himself now, like, surely this isn't going to work. But if I tell them I deserted, they would never let me be a soldier again. This is just an absolute long shot. And it really exists so that we can have Tavlakov, the slaver, say, "Oh, actually, he's a deserter. Definitely don't give him a weapon. Don't let him be a soldier again." And also, he probably corrupted the others. Which there's surely a bit of mixed motivation between the layers of what he's doing. There is one element of it where he's just protecting his reputation because he knows that if it gets out that he didn't correct a blatant lie, then probably nobody will buy from him again. I do think there's another element where he maybe does want to have some kind of pride in his work and not just purely lie about the slaves in that regard. There's also the element of Kaladin wondering if Tavlakov is lying about how much the slaves have paid off their debts already.
Because the paper marked that none of them had paid anything off so far.
And it did leave me pausing for a moment, wondering what he would have had to gain from that. From lying about that. And I suppose maybe just if the slaves already had some money paid on their debts, then they're worth a little bit less because there's the briefest chance that they could pay off their debts. But we also know that just never happens. Right? So it doesn't really matter in the end.
Yeah, that particular story beat, I mean, it's not even like a story beat per se.
It's just to remind us, I guess, that it's something that slaves do because it's something Kaladin thinks about later. So it just kind of refreshes the concept in our mind.
The light eyes are corrupt and they don't record how much they're like.
Yeah, but whatever. And from there, the bright lady is like, "Oh, tell Gaz to treat this one special because, he's a deserter and there's nothing that, soldiers hate more than a deserter." And they shove him off to the bridges. And there was an element that I liked, which was when Kaladin hears about the bridge crews, there's a couple lines where he assumes that he's going to be building bridges. And the story doesn't really dwell on that too much. Like, it would have been real easy to just kind of ham it up and have like a whole paragraph about Kaladin thinking about the hard labor of building bridges and this and that, and then have it be like, "Oh, actually, you're gonna be a slave who runs bridges." But Brando has enough subtlety in his pen to just have Kaladin offhandedly assume it, and then have him come and say, "Oh, okay, am I going to be helping build these?" And they're like, "Oh, you're not going to be building them." And we get introduced to Gaz. He's tremendously scarred and injured. He's only got the one eye. I could not help but imagine him after having some distance from the audiobook and the. I don't really feel like the voice that is used for him in the audiobook terribly matches my impression of him. I was kind of imagining him as Tom Hardy's character from Peaky Blinders. I think Tom Hardy would make a really great Gaz.
Oh yeah.
But regardless, Gaz is like, "Oh, you see, you're the new guy. I'm gonna treat you real special." And he has Kaladin join the bridge crew, which is I paid more attention, I think, to what the bridges were this read through than I've really done before. It really drove home how big they are. Me paying attention this time, them being 5 people across and 8 people deep.
That's a lot of people.
I think I was kind of lazily imagining them as like 3 by 6 people maybe previously.
Yeah,
you having the inside and then the either sides, and this is just a bit bigger.
And to be fair, basically from this point on in the story, Bridge 4 is consistently undermanned. Yeah. So they have an average of like 24 people running a bridge. When I believe
they say the minimum is 25, and I don't think they get that minimum a lot of the time.
No,
it's okay because Bridge 4 gets a buff and works out, and that lets them do it.
But yeah, when you think in your head like 24 people moving a bridge, 24 people is still a lot of people. But when you think of a bridge that is supposed to have 40 people underneath it, that is a big freaking bridge. Yeah.
And Kaladin is immediately thrown into bridge duty. He is not given one of the padded vests that the other people are because he's expected to just die on this run. Gaz is just expecting him to, or shoes. He doesn't have anything. Gaz is basically just expecting to torture him to death in this run. That's the intention. And so Kaladin he has to put this tremendous amount of weight on his shoulders, digging just right into the flesh and causing just tremendous friction.
Is that symbology at all, by the way?
It's almost like Kaladin bears like the weight of the world on his shoulders or something.
Oh, and when he's not like,
and he like runs barefoot through the desert carrying this. It's like is Kaladin Jesus? Is that the imagery we're supposed to be getting from this?
Well, he's not carrying it alone. So
true.
There's Anyway,
so Kaladin does run for hours, I guess, both ways is the best that I can tell. That's about how long bridge runs take, is several hours each way. I don't know that we ever
super specified. I know that it varies quite a bit per bridge run.
Yeah, I guess I'll try to pay more attention this time. It's something I'm always kind of wondering when I have reread earlier books in the series, is trying to put a number on it. And I'm sure I could just look it up and someone's figured it out. But like, they go for an hour, longer than an hour, before they even put the bridge down for the first time. And then there's over a dozen times they put the bridge down after this. And of course, they have to put it down every time there's a new plateau. And like, if you look at the cover art of The Way of Kings, you can see some plateaus that are super close together, where it seems like they'd be going for like a few minutes before putting it down.
Yeah, but they also got to put the bridge down and push it across. The army has to cross. They have to pick it back. Like, it
definitely seems like it's supposed to be like
an all-day sort of thing.
It does, yes. And Kaladin is just having the worst time of his life. I think he literally...
says
this is literally worse than Luke. He says, this is literally... He's like, I thought when they killed my family and my friends, they took my freedom. They took the last little bit of hope that I didn't even know I still had, that there was nothing more to give. I was wrong. This is worse.
Was I wrong? This is way worse.
He joins up He joins up Bridge 4, and Gaz is like, hey, Bridge 4, where's your leader? And they say he jumped in the honor chasm last night. That's where we're starting from.
Gaz goes, can't you last even a week with a bridge leader?
Can't you last a week? And somehow Kaladin survives this first run, even though they do a King David. They shove him in the front, deliberately trying to get him killed. And the people on either side, I believe, of him die.
He is the only person who was standing in the front line that survived this run.
And he is just like, wow, I kind of don't want to
do this.
I think I'm just going to lie here and die, actually. I think that'll make me the happiest in the long run. And he does just kind of sit there and, well, on the way there, he's relying on his training and his the systems that have been drilled into him, like, don't just lie down after you've been put through this horrific workout. Yeah, and Gaz is like, oh, why isn't he sitting lying down like all the others? And Kaladin's just like doing some isometric exercises like a baller. But in the end, Kaladin's just lying on the ground, just preparing to let them go on without him. But Syl zaps him and makes him go on because she understands, as airheaded as she's been up to this point, because she's still like trying to regain her consciousness. We'll learn later. This is the first moment she really truly seems to understand that something is very important and very wrong here. And so she zaps him and makes him get up. And he does listen, and he does get up and move. And this inspires him to ask for her name. She seems a little confused at first, but then she gives her name, Sylphrena, and then is surprised to realize that she has a nickname, Syl. This isn't even a nickname I had forgotten that Cal gave her. This is a nickname that someone else gave her in the past that she just now remembers. And so this is I suppose, the first time Kaladin chose life instead of death, and so that's probably why their bond started to strengthen here.
And life before death. Those are the first words, huh?
Yep. And then he's starting to go back, and he's just like, yay, Bridge 4.
And then he gets told they have to carry the bridge back.
Yes, though some soldiers do join them on the way back, thankfully, because it would be literally impossible otherwise. And let me just take another quick look at what the ending of the chapter was. It appeared he'd been wrong. There had been something more they could do to him. One final torment the world had reserved just for Kaladin, and it was called Bridge 4. And another chapter that I really didn't enjoy reading, because it's just the cycle torment. Of suffering builds character, suffering builds character, suffering builds character. But, knowing that we have to start at some point and get the initial descriptions of what's happening before we can move on to stuff, it's whatever. I got through it. It felt like a really long chapter, but we got through it.
I am proud of you. I mean, to be fair, audiobook wise, most of these chapters are about 20 to 30 minutes. This one was 50.
So this was like actually multiple chapters worth of content.
Yeah, this was 2 chapters worth of context.
Understandable, because we had to get an introduction both to the camps and to Bridge 4. Because it would definitely have felt annoying if we're going from the previous Shallan chapter of something happening to, all right, another Kaladin chapter, but it's just him coming to the camp. Then another Shallan chapter, and then another Kaladin chapter, but finally something's happening. I can understand why we just had to keep going until something happened here.
Yeah.
So, what were your thoughts on this chapter?
It would have.
Sorry to
my
interrupt.
thoughts on the chapter. No, you're good. I will say the very first time that I listened to it, it was definitely, I think, without having more context and knowledge of like everything that comes after, this was a very strong and impactful chapter for me, because it's like, oh, we've seen, Kaladin's a slave. He's like, he is the rebellious guy that's just like really angsty and he's like, oh, there ain't nothing more you can do to me that I haven't told myself in the mirror when I wake up every morning, sort of thing.
The world says one, a bet.
And then, he gets to the camp that has almost been like mythicized his entire life. And he goes, oh, this is just another soldier encampment.
Yep.
They've been here longer, but this is just another group of soldiers.
Yep.
These guys are cruel. They're not cohesively trained. The guy in charge of like receiving new slaves is a bully. He put me out in front to die on my first run.
They use
and
slaves.
The soldiers, they use slaves. The soldiers like make fun of absolutely everybody. Like this is just humanity. This is not what he was expecting. Coming back to it, this is probably my third or fourth time listening to the beginning of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Each time it does, even though I do pick up more context to things just because of knowing more about the book and little nuances and stuff. It definitely did feel, the chapter felt a little bit longer this time going through it. But this first bridge run is still pretty impactful story-wise to me. Like it is Kaladin's identity that he had kind of prescribed for himself up to this point. And obviously we're still very early in the book, but the character of Kaladin at this point that we've become familiar with is that he positions himself in his mind as being at his lowest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he is definitely like depressive, just again, like there's nothing worse that you can do to me that I haven't done to me already. And then he gets thrown in this just absolute hellhole and is like, oh, well, if you want to give up, there's always an option. There's the honor chasm. First mention of the honor chasm, which is every other portion of the slaves' lives. Like they don't have a choice whether they run the bridge or not. If they decide not to, then they get executed in like the worst possible way, which is getting like suspended from their ankles in a high storm, which is just awful.
You get flattened by a boulder if you're lucky.
Yeah. Either that or you get like flayed by debris.
Kremling
there's that
pelting you just without cease.
We learn later on that the bridgemen are like supervised when they go to the latrine so that they make sure people can't steal things from the plateaus and from the chasms when they clean through the chasms. So, like going to the honor chasm is the choice that the bridge crews have.
The one bit of agency they're still permitted.
The one bit of agency that they have. Turns out the last bridge leader of Bridge 4 did that. Just probably the smartest guy in the story so far.
Poor guy.
No, I do like this chapter. It does drag on a little bit, I think.
I do think the descriptions work a lot better once we're getting Kaladin's point of view under the bridge. The style of the descriptions work a lot better as like it is just a list of sensory information. That's not amazing when you're getting a description of the camp. It works a lot better when you're getting the stream of consciousness of a guy who doesn't have the energy to think. Right, and it's like a claustrophobic space. He is utterly exhausted. Like the way we know that the way that people perceive things when they're in that state is basically just flow of consciousness, thoughts as it comes. It's similar to the times in Mistborn when Vin is like completely exhausted or like berserk with rage, and we're kind of seeing a flow of her senses, and then afterward we get like an overview of everything that she did that she didn't realize. I think that's an area where Brando's writing style works well, and it's nice to see it get an outlet here.
Yeah, I agree. yeah, those are kind of my overall thoughts. I've got a couple things written down for this chapter just as notes. Before I go into them, is there anything that you wanted to bring up in terms of like specifics that you thought were interesting on this reread?
There is something I forgot to mention during the summary. It's not really a
Yeah.
new thing I noticed, but it's just that I believe it's one of the bridge members is like, oh, it's too bad that we're not in Dalinar's crew because Dalinar is like actually noble. Like they don't use bridge crews like we do. They say that Dalinar is an honorable man who's never broken an oath. And Kaladin's like, I'll buy that for $1. But it's on a first read, it serves to contrast Dalinar and Sadeas, as we'll see both of them going forward. It's one of the first things that we hear about Dalinar, and so it's one of the things we'll have in mind when we get his point of view later. And this, of course, this book and the next book do a fantastic job of setting him up as somebody that we do believe that he's an extraordinarily honorable person because he is. He sincerely wants to be honorable. And of course, then we later learn the truth of his backstory that he himself has forgotten and realize that it's horrendously ironic to say that he's like the man who has never broken an oath.
Right, which is kind of it's kind of interesting because we see even in this early part of the story, you know, he's trying to adhere to the codes and like lead others in that, and some of the other people are like, Dalinar, you want to be the example?
And
okay,
neither Dalinar nor we know why everybody's so confused. But
we learned though.
It is neat that Kaladin's thinking like, well, I thought Amaram was that also, and I know better now, so of course I'm not going to expect it of Dalinar. But of course we know that Amaram is basically just trying to be Dalinar, but without the dark spots. He's trying to hide them better. And so we'll of course eventually see that Kaladin trusts Dalinar basically more than anybody else, even though he probably doesn't deserve it. But it's a long journey to get there.
It is a long journey to get there. So in this chapter there are actually and I may have confused this point now that you're mentioning that. Just a second. I grabbed my physical copy. So just 1 second here. Okay. So I was not quite incorrect.
Okay.
So there's actually 2 mentions of the King's Army in this chapter and about how that means that people are treated better. There is the one that you had said about if because Kaladin and his bridge crew,
the leathery
bridge
boy.
4, the leathery boy, they see Sadeas crossing in his warplate.
Yeah.
And Kaladin goes, "Is that the king?" And the guy goes, "Oh, young lad, if that was the king, then we'd be in Dalinar's army, and that means we wouldn't be having to push bridges."
Which is kind of a parallel to the first scene with the kid, right? Where he's like, "Is that a shard bearer?"
Yeah.
You might even wonder if that's the king back there. They're like, of course not. The king's on the Shattered Plains. Maybe I'm conflating the two.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna flip back and take a look, but as the slave caravan, pulls toward the war camps, one of the slaves goes, "Oh, it's the king's army. This isn't going to be so bad. We're going to work on bridges,
digging latrines and building."
We'll be digging latrines and building roads.
Not coal mining like peasants.
Yeah, not spending a double shift at the ball crushing factory.
Yeah, and then Kaladin's like, "Oh no, we are."
Oh no, that is exactly what we're doing. Just 1 second. I'm trying to flip back. Okay. Chapter 1. Calvin looked across the field. A pocket had opened in the enemy forces. A man rode there on a white horse, swinging about him with a wicked mace. He wore a full plate armor, polished and gleaming. A shard bearer, Sen says. So he doesn't mistake him for the king,
Okay.
just a shard
Just
bearer.
a shard bearer. Yeah.
Just a shard bearer. Because
Because,
he has not seen
shiny armor.
plate before. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes,
But
so
it's kind
we
of
get a couple.
symbolizing that Kaladin is now the outsider who doesn't
Yeah.
understand what's going on in the same way that Sen was, which is neat.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty neat little tie back to that. But yeah, no, so there are two mentions where if people are serving in the king's or tangentially Dalinar's army, then they will be treated better than
Yes.
other slaves in the position would be. So that's kind of interesting.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's not a huge note, but Kaladin has actually worked his way up to serve under the High Prince that he would have served under if he
Yes.
had gone with Amaram to the Shattered
Right.
Plains.
Amaram is under Sadius's
Yeah,
authority.
so
if Kaladin had gotten his way, he would be right back here, just in a different role. But he would be having the same reactions of, I can't believe that none of these soldiers are what I expected. Because Amaram does literally hold his men to higher standards than Sadius does, which is crazy.
Yeah, Amaram is kind of like the Emperor's children of the group. These guys are just the leaders.
Yeah, he's extremely Emperor's children. Especially looking side-eye at
Oathbringer. Yeah, exactly. Couple extra limbs never hurt nobody.
Yeah, that's I never really considered that before, but he's about as well. Except the Emperor's children would never have. They would have far too much self-respect to pretend to be knights in shining armor while actually being scheming rogues. They would just betray you to your face and laugh at you for not being built different.
Yeah,
like, Adolin's the Emperor's children among us here.
Adolin is like when the Emperor's children were still loyalist Marines, frickin' obsessed with their own perfection. Amaran might be like a Dark Angels because he does betray backward and then is like,
he is indeed one of the fallen
for my actions. Anyway,
and sorry to anybody who isn't a Warhammer enjoyer. In the audience, by the way.
Yeah, Warhammer is great. If you want, if you want a couple of recommendations of books, in our episode 0, I list a couple out.
Yeah.
Talon of Horus, go listen to it, please. It's a fantastic
great book.
So here's a question for you. Gaz, the bully who is in charge of the bridges, do you think that he took it on himself? Like, was it his decision to have Kaladin killed on the front line of the bridge, or was Brightness Hashal's tell Gaz to take special care of this one code for have him be wiped?
I think that's a good question. So on one hand, you would think that she wouldn't buy someone just to immediately have them killed. Like, sure, that might
she is sending them to the bridge crews. Like, let us be perfectly clear on that.
You need people on the bridge crews, though. Like, that's how your people get across. Like, we are throwing them into the meat grinder, but
we're still getting sausage out of it.
You're still getting sausage out of it, but they cost like an emerald brome and a quarter or whatever, each of them. And she's like, she's making a show of like, oh, yes, fine, I'll buy these because of your honesty, even though they're not worth that much. But that could just be bluster from haggling.
Yeah.
I feel like she didn't intend him to literally get murdered unless it was, well, you know what you got to do to deserters is you have to make an example of them. So if he's already in the bridge crew, kill him. But I do have the feeling that similar to you let the bridge crews go to the honor chasm if they feel like it, you know, if he manages to survive, sure, let him keep going. Like, there's not a need to kill him if he once he's already suffered the literal worst that you could, because this is the worst you could possibly be without being injured on a bridge crew. You gave him no protection, and you put him in the worst place on the run up and the worst place once you get to the front lines.
On the worst bridge, by the way, the one that is consistently undermanned.
Yeah. So I don't think Gaz was. I think Gaz was doing more than was probably expected. I don't think somebody would have gotten mad at him for what he did. He has the authority to do what he feels like, but I think he was being a bully, as Kaladin specifically calls him, because of how Kaladin reacted to him.
Gaz, are you freaking serious? We're carrying this back? So definitely on previous reads, I just 100% was like, oh, Gaz doesn't like him. He mentions Amaram a couple of times. Yeah. Gaz doesn't know who it is, but it's like somebody it's like somebody name dropping a celebrity that thinks,
Kaladin is going, don't you know who I am?
Yeah, exactly. So
I know your manager.
Listen, I know the owner. He gives me free drinks. It's fine. Just whatever. That was definitely my stance on it previously. The listening through it this time, I picked up on Brightness Hishal's like tell Gaz to take special care of this one. I don't know that I like registered it a whole ton before, outside of her just being like, oh, he's got a Shash brand and he tried lying to me, so I don't like that. However, as you mentioned earlier in the episode, there is a bit of a like biblical David story going on where, David ordered the husband of the lady that he's trying to do stuff with to be put in the front line in order to get him killed.
I think he was doing it.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that I do think that Gaz has agency in what he did and definitely escalated it. But I think that I think that this may not be the first time that Hishal has sent someone to Gaz basically in order to be killed off. Like,
I feel like if they say special treatment and Gaz doesn't have to clarify what that means, this is probably not the first time. I imagine that it's likely that when a soldier does something they're really not supposed to, that's when they get sent here and are told to have special treatment, which happens a lot because it's Amaram's army. Or not Amaram, Sadius' army.
Sadius, yeah. And actually, that's a good point that you made about the deserters thing. Like, when you have less discipline in your army, you have to reprimand really bad things a lot harder so that people don't get too lax. And deserting the army is like the worst thing that you can do, basically.
That's in almost every culture. That's an execution, I believe, throughout history.
Yeah, basically.
The opening scene of Game of Thrones is somebody getting killed for deserting.
So, that's just an interesting thing that I had noticed this go around. Something else, just really quick, and we definitely get more of a sense of this as the story goes on, but when Kaladin was absolutely drained to zero before he lies down and kind of dies for a little bit.
His spirit does kind of slowly start to separate from the body, just a tiny bit.
His corpus and his etherius were definitely getting split apart a little bit. Like there was a little bit of moving on.
Kaladin's look, not Kaladin, Kelsier's looking from his little really long range telescope across the galaxy. He's like, I know that feeling.
Oh, I know that one. He still considered his medical training and whether he could go and help the leathery-faced old man. So
because of course Kaladin has a savior complex, and that's the only thing he's ever thinking of at all times, because that's the framework that he relies on to keep hold of his sanity.
It was definitely drilled into him quite a lot.
I don't have any issue with that. It makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
In a
but
crisis,
the big,
you fall to the level of your systems. Those are his systems.
yeah, his systems are his drills in the army about stretching and not letting muscle
You have to
cramps
do your
happen.
squats.
But more, even when he's pushed past that point, his base, his absolute base is I've got to help other people,
Yeah.
which is not terribly large of a surprise, but neat that
Yeah.
it is consistent. It is consistently shown this early in the book.
Yes.
The
I mean, it
big
was shown
thing,
from the first scene that we get with Sen.
well, yes, but he's not pushed to his lowest point at that point. He is,
I get what you're
that is
saying.
young
We saw
Kaladin
him when he
Stormblood.
was
Yeah.
like when he was feeling good about himself. That was how he was feeling. But even when he's
Mhm.
at his lowest, when he is still feeling very sorry for himself, he does still have
Yeah.
that selflessness to him, which shows that it is a real selflessness, that he's still thinking of others when he's at his lowest.
Yeah. I think the big one that I didn't necessarily think through the implications of previously is like we had heard from Kaladin's perspective that some Spren can move things, can pick them
Yeah.
up, can stick them together. Specifically, Wind Spren can do that, but
Yeah.
it's not unusual for a Spren to be able to very lightly physically interact.
Yeah.
But this is the first and kind of only time, I think, where somebody says that non-sentient Spren can like transfer energy from one thing to another.
Yeah. I
Specifically,
feel
still like slapping him and giving him a jolt of energy, and he's like, "Oh, some Spren can do that." Yeah.
Right. Fair point. I feel like I remember Winspren doing similar things in later books, but that could just be my imagination.
And granted, Wind Spren can stick things together, which is them doing a surge on their own. I think they, as far as I know off the top of my head, they may be the only quote unquote nature Spren that is that close to the surges that they can just kind of do it. So maybe it's Wind Spren that can also give jolts of energy just because they're that close to honor. And therefore the Stormfather.
Yeah,
it's a weird one. It's a weird thing.
The problem is, it seems like Windspren and Honor Spren are very close to each other, more so than the like second tier other Spren are to their base Spren forms. But like,
yeah, certainly.
We also just haven't seen a lot of that other stuff. Like, I think Mist Spren that was supposed to be what Renarin was bonded with. Is that right? Or like or not literally a Mist Spren, because he would have the super version of it, the Concentration Spren. I can't remember, but a Mist Spren is supposed to be like the base form of the one that he can bond to. But when it comes to Truth Watchers, we've only really seen corrupted ones, so we don't really know. We don't really know how they act normally. I'm trying to think of other ones. Like Cryptics don't really have a base version that we've seen to compare them to, I don't think. Ink Spren that Yasna bonded to, we haven't really seen like a base version. We have seen the base version of what the Truth Watchers Spren bond to. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Truth Watcher's shard plate is made up of lesser Spren, equivalent to Mist Spren, so you are correct.
Oh, it was Miss Spren for, yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, there's a huge deal made of the fact that Honor Spren and Wind Spren are, like, almost
Super
identical
close,
to each
yeah.
other, at least on this side. It's like it might as well be the difference between the dull form and other forms of the listener and singer species. Like,
Yeah, almost the same species, but something in their identity with a capital I
yeah, but
is like
it doesn't
disconnected.
necessarily seem to be the case with other spren species that we've seen. And I wonder if there's a specific reason for that, or if it's just my perception, us not having enough information. Maybe, like you said, honor is just one
That
of the
good.
three gods of Roshar, and so the
Yeah,
special spren connected to him are just built different.
yeah. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I granted, and again, I did not read Wind and Truth, and it seems like there's a lot of stuff talked about in that book that's kind of like big picture world
Yeah, we get an entire
physics
epic that
stuff.
is the
Yeah.
backstory of honor, cultivation, and odium coming to Roshar.
So there
It
are
answers like all the
things.
big, I won't say all, it answers a huge number of big picture questions, and was one of my
Yeah,
favorite parts of that book because it felt like
I
reading actual mythology.
I may get to that point at some point. It's
Yeah.
just wow. But
Wow, wow,
the
wow, wow.
as wow 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 wow
Sorry.
wow wow. As far as I can remember off the top of my head, we don't really see just General Spren doing the things that Wid Spren are seen to do.
Right.
So,
We
you know,
don't really see other spren interacting with stuff.
right. I'm trying. So, what are the three? There's the wind, the stone,
Windstone and Night.
night. I don't think we've really seen night spren
Well,
or stone spren, have we?
I don't know that we haven't seen Stone Spren, I don't think. We may have seen a version. Have we seen like a? Oh, I feel like we have. I feel like we have seen something that's supposed to be Stone Spren. But it wouldn't be just stone. It would be like something particular.
Right.
As far as
I'm trying to
Night,
think.
we've seen, Night left Roshar, so we wouldn't see Night Spren,
Gotcha.
if I'm remembering correctly.
I mean, we do have Midnight Essence, but that is a
Peak Spren,
Cosmere-wide
is that what Stone
essence.
Spren are supposed to be?
Ooh. Like LMAO,
Peak
that's
Spren,
peak.
yes. Peak Spren in the physical realm take forms that seem to be made of stone. They can hide inside real rocks if they wish. They are stone ward magic.
Oh, yes. So,
yes,
Peak Spren.
and their patron herald is Talanel. That was something that I wanted to mention.
The Flaken Walk.
So, the leathery faced man refers to him as Talanel Elin, and I feel that stood out to me because I feel like when I've almost always heard the Elin added to the end, it's with Talanel Elin and not Talanel Elin. And I don't know if that's meaningful or not. And that also brought to mind, I'm pretty sure that was maybe a pronunciation change from one audiobook to another. I think throughout most of the series, it's pronounced Talanel. Or sorry, when it's Talanel Elot, I think it's pronounced Talenelot throughout most of the audiobooks. And then I think it was deliberately changed in the last audiobook or two to Talan Elot. And that may be because of the linguistic drift making more sense if you go from Talon to Talon rather than Talen to Talon, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. In the prequel to Kill, it is Zeth sees it as Talenalot, which is how I am most used to hearing it pronounced, Telenolot. Just a second here. His full name in Vorinism is Telenolot Elin.
Gotcha. Interesting.
I think just we see them referred to with so many different nicknames and titles and honorifics.
Yeah. It could be
He
that
is
I'm just selectively remembering.
He is both referred to as Telenolot Elin and Talanel Elin.
Yeah.
Based off of where on Roshar people are referring to him from. So that's, Godfrey, Godric, frickin' God love it.
We won't go there.
I'm gonna step away from that particular comment.
Yeah, and then going back to the spren of wind, stone, and I'm gonna look up night spren. I'm sure that they exist. Okay, if I look up a night spren on Coppermind, I just get a redirect. Let me do. So no. Of course, night was a spren. Night left Roshar because the singers did not worship night along with wind and stone.
Sounds like night's a bit of a frickin' weenie.
Well, night's role was also to hide people, while wind's role was to protect, and stone's role was to remember, if I'm remembering correctly.
All right. There are several types of spren that common knowledge dictates are not aligned with odium, but are considered malicious and dangerous nonetheless. These include rasping spren, storm whisperers, and night spren, the last of which are considered to be the most fearsome and dangerous. These spren are mostly believed in by traditional rural Vorinistic followers.
Do you think night spren are just I'm drawing a blank. The Midnight Essence. Do you think that that's just what they call night spren, creatures of Midnight Essence, because they don't understand what they are?
It's possible.
Because there's like Dalinar's first vision, he fights some Midnight Essence creatures, and he asks, "Are they Voidbringers?" But the Knights Radiant of that time know that they're midnight creatures. But that doesn't mean that current Vorinism does, because current Vorinism has just reinterpreted everything that is known according to their mythology patterns. I don't know. I would probably, even if I were to find a text referring to midnight creatures, I would say, oh yeah, that's obviously a night spren. It literally has night right there. I don't know what else to tell you.
In the name. Let me see.
But the Night Watcher is a spren of night. Correct. So there's that. But she's not a night spren.
Right. There's a reference that I'm... All right. There's... On the Coppermind, there's a reference to chapter 42.
In relation to night spren?
Yeah. I'm trying to see if it actually follows through. So this is when Shallan breaks into Yasna's room and is reading through her books and sees that there are notes that Yasna's like, these things refer to the Voidbringers, but they may just be part of like common parlance.
Right. Which is kind of along the same line of Dalinar thinking that the creatures he was fighting were Voidbringers. Because everything's a
Right.
Voidbringer if you're in current Vorinism.
The Voidbringers. Okay, so this is quote. Voidbringers again. Many people in more rural places whispered of them and other monsters of the dark. The Raspings, Storm Whispers, or even dreaded Nightspren. Shallan had been taught by stern tutors that these were superstitious fabrications of the Lost Radiants who used tales of monsters to justify their domination of mankind. A little bit, just a half page earlier. The ones of ash and fire who killed like a swarm, relentless before the heralds. They take away the light wherever they lurk, skin that is burned. They changed even as we fought them, like shadows they were. They can transform as flame dances. Never underestimate them because of what you first see. That kind of sounds like Midnight Essence,
That's what that sounds like to me too. Because that sounds like when Shallan was fighting them and they were taking the forms of different things.
Except she was directly fighting the Midnight Mother.
Yeah.
When outside of that instance, when we see people encountering Midnight Essence, the form that it takes generally like stabilizes very soon after forming.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure,
Could
but
be that
yeah,
anything that Ray Shafir creates has the
potential
changing.
Yeah,
self. I don't know.
I don't know, but yeah, interesting stuff. So I guess we'll keep our eyes out. Other mentions of Spren being able to have physical interactions with things, whether it's Wind Spren sticking something together, a normal Spren like knocking something off a shelf or carrying something, or even transferring little zip zap of energy to somebody else. But I really don't remember many of those instances off the top of my head.
No, but there'll be good things to keep an eye out for.
Yeah. It was a chapter, like I said, one of I remember first read through, very impactful, and sets the stage for the kind of time that Kaladin's going to have moving forward.
Spoilers, it's not a good one.
It's not a fun time.
Yeah.
Oh boy. I think that's all I had for this chapter. I'm trying to remember what the next one is.
The next one is anything reasonable. Shallan going to the Palanaeum, and
she just got denied by Yasna, and she is going back to the Palanaeum to try and convince Yasna that actually no, Shallan is worth it.
Yes, and we'll get to that, and she'll have her first encounter with the Simp Assassin, and all of that. Shallan's downward spiral will begin. But
I want to say Shallan might have back-to-back chapters, so we might trade off on who's reading whose chapter. See what happens.
We'll see what happens.
So I think it goes right into in the next one.
To make up for the fact that we got a double chapter.
Yeah, seriously. Yasna tells Shallan frickin' storm off Blowhard, and then Shallan goes to the shops to try to buy some books to impress Yasna.
And we'll get there when we get there. We'll get there. For tonight, thank you very much for yet another episode. This was good discussion.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.